Coming up on the WAC podcast, there's plenty to talk about. We tie a bow on college basketball. Seattle U wins the CBI tournament. Speaking of Seattle U, Tarek Skubal, opening day starter for the Detroit Tigers. He had a sensational outing on opening day. We also will have Rick McCarty, the baseball coach from Abilene Christian, as the Wildcats are off to a pretty good start. Kendra will talk with him, and we're going to have Jess Radford in studio next on the WAC podcast.
Dun, dun. This WAC podcast is brought to you by our friends at University Credit Union, the official financial institution partner of the Western Athletic Conference. We are the champions. That's how I'm starting, because Seattle U men's basketball are officially the CBI tournament champs. They were playing High Point in the championship as we lower my volume.
You're so excited.
I'm speaking so loud because, I mean, you know, for a veteran team, you never know if you want to compete in the postseason. They opted to. The guys didn't want to stop playing. Cameron Tyson ties a nice bow on his collegiate career, leading all scorers, drops 30 points in the championship, and they finish on a win. So how about that? Congratulations. On ESPN2, national TV, they were able to get it done.
On back-to-back nights, no less, on ESPN2, they beat High Point 77-67, closing out on an 11-0 run. You mentioned the great Cameron Tyson, who we had on the show last week, finishing his Seattle U career on a high note. Alex Schumacher, he was at tournament MVP. Alex Schumacher had 4 free throws at the end of the game to seal it as well. So very good times. I understand. I don't know if I was did they really burn a couch on campus there, or was that fake?
I mean, I saw the videos on social media. They had police had to be called for it. I mean, I'm not sure.
Could be fake.
Yeah, it could be. You never know. AI videos now are, you know, I'm following a lot of conspiracy theories about different AI videos and possibly Princess Kate Middleton. I won't even go into that, but
I mean, people could clone your voice and
right.
do the WAC podcast.
Absolutely. They can clone your face. Yeah. I'm actually watching a TV show where they hacked in and they hacked the video camera. This guy was buying all this supplies for something sketchy, and they put a different face on it. So, I mean, anything's possible nowadays. Scary.
Staying with Seattle U, former Seattle U pitcher Tarek Skubal, the opening day starter for the Detroit Tigers, and the Tigers are off to a great start, 4-0. And I mean, for him to come back, he had injuries when he was at Seattle U, wound up, I believe he was an 8th or 9th round pick in the draft that year. So he was, you know, not a top 10 pick like we had this past year. So by no means, a shoe-in to be a Major League Baseball player, let alone a star, let alone an opening day starter, and he's taking the opportunity and running with it.
Absolutely. And one of the things I also love about Tarek Skubal is that he's also really plugged in to Seattle U baseball. He comes back often, talks to the team, is constantly texting with their coach and any of the pitchers that need any assistance. So he may be major league, but he never forgot where he came from, and he still gets back to the program that helped him be where he is today.
So he's one to keep an eye on. Also wanted to mention that our next commish on campus will be debuting on Tuesday, and that's with Kristen Fifield, the outstanding player, softball player from Grand Canyon University. She was our Joe Kearney Award winner as the most outstanding athlete female, not only in softball, but in all of the WAC.
Yeah, I mean, what she's done at Grand Canyon, she spent her entire career there. She's back for her 5th year, looking to do some big things with the program, coming off of 2 back-to-back trips to the NCAA tournament. They beat UCLA. They won a game last year. And so she's awesome, and getting a chance to get to know Brian Thornton. And she also had some interesting questions for him as well. So you definitely don't want to miss that episode.
Our WAC top play this week goes to Elena Hampton of UT Arlington, making the stop and the throw. So you want to check that out on our social media. And always a reminder, use the hashtag WACTopPlay if you see something great.
That's right. Use that hashtag. We see it. I mean, shout out to her. She makes the dive and catch, then she throws it over. It makes a tough throw across field to be able to get the out, and very impressive. So congratulations to UT Arlington.
We're going to talk some softball in our next segment with Jess Radford, as she will be on set here, but we'll table that conversation on softball, go on to baseball here with our WAC Ticket Smarter Players of the Week. On the men's side, it's baseball. UTRGV, Armani Aragosa is the WAC Ticket Smarter Player of the Week. He did it all a redshirt senior freshman, 10 base hits, 556 from the plate, 1,000 slugging percentage, as UTRGV is definitely in the mix, in a good spot for the WAC tournament that'll be coming up next month now, as we're in the month of April.
Can't even believe it. And then shout out to Grand Canyon's Connor Madison for earning the Ticket Smarter Pitcher of the Week. He earned national recognition for throwing the first GCU no-hitter since 1982, a 4-0 win over Sacramento State. That was back on March 29th, but pretty impressive. And that was a cool moment for Grand Canyon. And
they had some great defensive plays in that game as well. It was the 28th all-time WAC no-hitter and the 9th since 1990. So it doesn't happen that often.
It does not. It's tough to do nowadays. You know, we also had some other great moments, whacked moments. UT Arlington beating TCU. I love our tweet that we did. We're getting a little edgy. So we have
who was monitoring last night? I don't know.
It was
firing some shots at TCU, the Mustang or the Maverick greater than the Frog.
Very, very impressive.
6-4 win for UTA over TCU. And of course, whacked means we have a team that beats a Power 5 school or a top 25 ranked team. Had a chance. It looked like we're going to have several whacked opportunities last night. Utah Valley was up on Utah at one point during that game. The Utes come back to win that. GCU was up on Arizona State in baseball. The Sun Devils come back to win that by 1 run. We also had Tarleton went to extra innings with Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist ranked number 7 in the country. And Tarleton had them on the ropes, but unfortunately lose in extra innings in that one. And I know you're going to be talking to Rick McCarty from ACU. They played Texas last night.
Yeah, they played them pretty tough. They had one big, I think it was 2-1. Texas was leading in the 5th inning and then, gave up a big inning that kind of, ended up being the final of 11-1, but a lot of great moments for some of the younger guys. This is a team that had, I think, 20 new guys. You'll hear from Coach McCarty himself as he'll break down the entire team. But our teams are playing tough. And you look at, Tarleton State is, close to the bottom of our rankings in our standings of WAC baseball. And they're going toe-to-toe with some really impressive teams. So it just shows the depth in our WAC baseball league.
Taking a look at the standings as we head into the week. Of course, they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Grand Canyon at 9-3 in conference on top of the standings, just a game ahead of Abilene Christian, UT Arlington, both tied for second at 8-4. California Baptist 6-3, Utah Valley 5-4, Utah Tech 6-6. And then you get the teams that are under 500. But what's different about the WAC baseball tournament this year, Kendra, we talked about it in basketball a lot, having those buys, those kind of things. There's going to be a play-in game or 2 play-in games on Tuesday where 5 plays 8. 6 plays 7. The loser first day, Tuesday, 2 teams are going to go home. And that's different than we've had in the WAC baseball tournament before. So you want to be in those top 4 because then you're assured to play on Wednesday.
Absolutely. It's always been double elimination. And now we're bringing in, hey, come in, you got to win. We did that last year with softball as well as that single elimination, that first round. And so a lot of pressure on day 1. And so standings are very important.
Taking a look at the schedule for the week, Grand Canyon playing non-conference against St. Mary's on Friday and also on Thursday. The Utah Valley will host in-state rival Utah Tech for a 3-game series this weekend. Sacramento State, California Baptist, always a lot of fun. A couple of California schools matching up there. Tarleton State will host Seattle U. You mentioned the Texans, that they could, those are 2 teams that need, some wins and could verify their status in WAC baseball. Stephen F. Austin, they've been struggling this year, but they will entertain Abilene Christian, and UTRGV hosts UT Arlington.
Absolutely. As we switch it on over to track and field, we have some more Ticket Smarter players of the week, athletes of the week to be announced. California Baptist Yasna Petrova and Abilene Christian's Jadeza Sims are the athletes of the week. So Petrova competed in that Stanford Invitational 10K. In the 34 runner field, she was a top 5 finisher and placed 4th in the meet, only 14 seconds behind first place. So that's pretty cool as well. And Jadeza Sims leaped to the top of the conference high jump when she recorded a mark of 1.75, puts her first in the WAC, 35th in the country. She was also part of that 4x400 relay as well. That was the top of the conference rankings.
On the men's side, our Ticket Smarter WAC Men's outdoor track and field athletes of the week, California Baptist Valentin Soka. He competed in the Stanford Invitational 10K that you had just mentioned that CBU was participating in, full of multiple All-Americans, including the two-time national champion. He came away in 11th place in that 10K. So he was a member of that champion team for CBU in cross country this past year. And then Grand Canyon's Jack Hodge is the field athlete of the week. He took part in the Clyde Littlefield Texas Relays, which is always a big deal. I believe that's down in Austin. In the pole vault, he secured a runner-up finish in a highly competitive field, setting a new school record with a mark of 5.5 meters. That's 18 feet and 0.5 inch to you and me.
You know what's going to be here before you know it? That outdoor track and field championship held in Orem, I guess, at Utah Valley. And you know what's right with that? Tennis championships.
That will be coming up before we know it. The tennis championships in Harlingen, Texas, hosted by UTRGV.
So we have our Ticket Smarter WAC men's tennis players. This week, Seattle U's John Sagawa and Abilene Christian's Daniel Morozov and Cesar Barnaquero are the Ticket Smarter players of the week. And so Seattle U pulled off the reverse sweep in his lone matchup against Abilene Christian's Daniel Morozov, nonetheless on the top singles courts. And the doubles team, so Morozov and Barnaquero, won their matchup over Seattle U's John Sagawa and Philippe Stripik. So, that helped the Wildcats take the doubles point and ended up in a 6-2 victory for Abilene Christian. But very excited to see all these teams in action. UTA was the defending men's team last year that made it to the NCAA tournament. So looking forward to seeing that just in a few weeks.
And that's going to be live on ESPN Plus for the first time.
Yes.
As well. On the women's side, Ticket Smarter Players of the Week, Santa Strombaka and Natasha Pusey of Grand Canyon have been named the WAC Tennis Players of the Week for the week ending on March 31st. Strombaka went 2-0 on the singles side, going 6-0, 6-0 in her sets. And then she beat Felicia Back from SFA 6-0, 6-2. So hard to do much better than that. Pusey and Strombaka also collected their second weekly doubles award as they went 2-0 at the #1 doubles as well. And when we take a quick look at the standings here, Grand Canyon 4-0, tied with Tarleton at 4-0 as well on top of the women's standings.
I believe Grand Canyon won it last year, but Tarleton State was in contention. They were in that final as well. Remember, Tarleton State is still in that transition period, so they wouldn't have been able to go to the NCAA tournament last year. And they also have that same thing. They won't be able to go this year as well, but they have a strong program there, and looking forward to the women's side of tennis as well.
On the men's side, Abilene Christian, UT Arlington 1-0. Of course, only 5 teams on the men's side. They only play 4 conference matches, so each of those are worth a lot when you think about it in terms of all conference and the conference standings, which will determine the seeding at the WAC tennis tournaments. Well, we've talked a lot of spring sports. We're going to talk some softball when we come back with the one and only Jessica Radford on the WAC podcast.
You do not want to miss this. Don't go anywhere.
University Credit Union has been serving students, employees, and alumni of the university community for more than 70 years. We've got plenty of moves that benefit our members, like the lowest loan rates in the nation guarantee, educational resources, personalized savings and investing advice, and 24/7 online and mobile banking. Plus, our virtual assistant, Royce, is always happy to deliver an assist. University Credit Union, the winning choice. Learn more and join today at ucu.org.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. Eric Danner, Kendra Sheehan, with the one and only Jess Radford with her microphone now on.
Finally.
It's been a while since you've been in the studio.
I know. Y'all kicked me to the curb for a while, but now I'm back.
Well, you're ace in the bullpen.
That's right. We know we can always count on you.
I love that position. I'll take on that role.
So you don't have to be pitching every single game, but
You might not be that
We gotta be
Friday
ready.
night pitcher, but you're ready to close it out.
I got to get the save.
That's right.
Yes.
so speaking of saves and all that good stuff, you are the softball contact. So we are heading down the home stretch. It's April. So we got about a month to go before the WAC tournament in Seattle this year. as far as your 35,000-foot view, who's looking like the best teams in the league right now?
Right now is definitely a toss-up. Grand Canyon, of course, is in. They're like what, 9-2 in conference play right now. Utah Valley right behind them and 8-3. And I'm very surprised at Utah Valley because they were tied 7th with Utah Tech in the
Wow.
preseason poll, the coaches poll that we have before the season starts. So for them to be 8-3 in conference play right now is definitely probably a boost in their confidence and saying that, we could potentially win this conference this year. So that's definitely been keeping my eye out on Utah Valley. They just beat Seattle U. They had a doubleheader last night. They beat them. California Baptist, of course, is up there as well. They are 7-3 in the WAC. And then UT Arlington has been really going on a good little stretch here as well, and they're 5-3 in conference play.
Now I got a question for you. You might have the answer, so you might not. So we might cut this part out. So Utah Valley played Seattle U last night. Was that a conference series or
Yes.
on a Tuesday?
Yes.
And they only played 2 games. Though.
Yes. So some teams play midweeks and they only play twice, twice in one day. So I think it just all depends on like how conference play goes, or I'm not
Well,
really
they're
sure,
probably, I don't know, again,
Mhm.
the ins and outs of the schedule, but
Mhm.
they are a lot of times Seattle U, Utah Valley are travel partners.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of times where you play them as midweek, in other sports. So that makes sense. I just wasn't sure if that counted or not, or if that was a non-conference series.
No, it was definitely conference series. So that is a win column in conference series for Utah Valley.
You also mentioned California Baptist, UT Arlington, Seattle U at home for the tournament this year. But what is it, 8 teams get in the
Yes.
bracket this year, and kind of explain how that works.
8 teams, the top 8 teams. I don't know what you mean.
But we got that single elimination that
Yes.
first round.
Yes. Oh.
So 5 versus 8, 6 versus 7.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lose that first day,
You're out.
first 2
Done.
games.
So
It's tough. So you want to be the top 4,
Mm-hmm. So you get that bye, right?
so you get that bye, and then you're double elimination.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the 5 seed, theoretically you could lose to the 8 and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
1 game in.
that's right. And looking at the standings right now, Utah Tech 4-5. They're on a losing streak of 6 games. They were our number 1 seed last year coming in. They did not. It was their first time ever competing, I believe, in the WAC softball tournament. That was a new initiative from Brian Thornton of getting those transitioning schools in. But they went 2-Q last year. I think they were one of those teams that maybe just weren't ready for the moment. But looking at this year's squad, what can we maybe expect from Utah Tech as they look to make a push and maybe a little bit of redemption, get some experience back in the tournament? How much does that play a factor when you've already been there?
I think having experience last year, and probably if they make it in this 8-team, tournament this year, they're saying, okay, what can we reflect on that we did, last year, and how we can improve on that this year in the tournament. Of course, it was their first year. They probably was a little bit shaken up. Their transition period, right? So I don't think they would have, if they would have won, they would have made it to the NCAA, right? Somebody would have to go in their place. So I think this year this is their last year in transition period, so I still wouldn't be able to go into the tournament, but I think it's still like a learning experience. It's all growing pains, and I think every school goes through that. But I feel like, it's how can we improve from last year to this year? And I think that's what they'll be having their sights on. And I think that's the big accomplishment for teams like this, just how can we move forward? How can we move ahead? Because each year you're going to get better, and in that one year you'll have that year for sure.
Ticket Smarter Players of the Week, Caitlin Dunkel from Grand Canyon. We talked in the first segment a little bit about Kristen Fifield. She's the next subject of the commission on campus. She's been the Player of the Week 3 times this year. Don't forget about Caitlin Dunkel. She was a WAC all-conference player. I think she was our WAC preseason Player of the Year 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So she's at that kind of level with Kristen Fifield, as well as Ramsey Lopez, who transferred from New Mexico State, another great player for the Lopes, who, once we get into tournament time, they beat UCLA last year. We saw them win the tournament in the WAC. So that speaks well that, they have multiple players that could potentially be an MVP type of player.
Yes, and I think that's just so in tune of why they're doing so well, because you have those experienced players who, can put up big numbers or can put up big hits and get those RBIs and those runs for your team. So having those 3 experienced players and, just like coming back and just being so, I think, just rooted in how their team dynamic is, just helps them out tremendously. So definitely Grand Canyon is a team to watch, especially with those 3 key players that they have.
And how about our Ticket Smarter pitcher of the week, Jessica Adams from UT Arlington. Tell me if you've heard her name before. This is her third time getting that honor. Man, she's a junior and she's really gone off for the Mavericks as they look to climb up in the standings right now, just sitting at 4th.
Yeah, so she's been a very crucial part, and I think UTA's success. Like this week, she had a shutout game against Southern Utah. They won that game 7-0. So they secured their first sweep of the season, conference sweep of the season, this past weekend. So UTA went against Southern Utah. Jessica Adams, of course, a big part in that. And they also played against North Texas. North Texas is in the American now, but North Texas, I think, is a really, really good softball team. They did really well in Conference USA last year, so I'm pretty sure they're still, going high off of that. But, still to be throwing, that well against North Texas, she's through 14.1 innings just in a total of last week, had a 0.49 ERA. So just really well. And I think she's just riding high each and every week.
Just rattling off those stats right off the top of her head here. In a couple of weeks, believe it or not, we're going to be in Payson, Arizona. Actually, as we record this, April 3rd, and 2 weeks from today, we will be in Payson, Arizona for the practice round of the WAC Women's Golf Championship, which also your main media contact for that. Our WAC Ticket Smarter Player of the Week is somebody who's been playing really well all year. Her name is Ryan Honey from Abilene Christian. She's a transfer from Louisville, and it looks to be one of the players to beat in that tournament.
Yes, and I just think we can't just not talk about Abilene Christian as a whole. Their golf team, their first year having a women's golf team, and they have been doing so well this season. I'm even blown away about how well they're doing. I think like out of each weekly award we've been doing, they've probably won every single one except for like 2. We have Delaney Martin, who does really well. Ryan has been doing really well for them. So she's been getting it twice. Delaney Martin has gotten it 3 times so far. And Abilene Christian is just crushing this season, I think. So it's definitely a team to watch going into this golf tournament. That's in 2 weeks, as we said. So
you get a chance to go to the golf championship. What are you looking forward to in that? What's exciting about getting a chance to travel and spend some quality time in a nice house with the WAC staff for a few days?
Yeah, I've actually never been to Phoenix or Payson or anything anywhere in Arizona. So I think that'll be fun. I hear Payson is actually pretty cute and nice little cute aesthetic wise. Mountains and
Take
trees,
those
right? But no, my dad played golf, so I grew up playing golf. So he would always take us to the driving range. We had little small golf clubs as a kid, and then I was in this midnight golf program. It was called my senior year of high school, where they taught us how to play golf and taught us, like life lessons. So I've been around golf basically my entire life. So I love golf. So it'd be good to just be around that atmosphere. I would help out with the PGA Tour Live when it came to Detroit for 2 years straight. So those were long days watching golf. So it's just kind of, to be good to be back in the atmosphere.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I haven't been around golf in like 2
know,
years.
man.
So I'm excited to be back in the atmosphere again.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Payson, Arizona is supposed to be a beautiful area. It's what, an hour and a half, 2 hours from Phoenix. So, you think of Phoenix, hot desert. This is more, mountains, trees, towards the Grand Canyon, not at the Grand Canyon, but more in that direction, which people don't know, like Northern Arizona University, which is by the Grand Canyon, over 6,000 feet in elevation. So it's a little different terrain.
So bring a jacket.
Bring our jacket.
Bring a jacket.
Now, speaking of that, before we head to our next segment, wanted to mention Kendra's FSU shirt today.
Ooh.
Now, it's not a slight against the WAC, but you're an FSU grad and you were speaking to one of your former classes.
Yes. Yeah. I had the opportunity to speak to a TV reporting class that I took back in 2017 before I graduated. So had to show a little love to FSU. No one's in the NCAA tournament. So for men's or women's basketball, so not showing any love there, but just for that, no slight to our WAC teams. I support them all.
And then we wanted to talk a little bit about the thing we've been talking about in the office.
Oh, yeah.
The solar eclipse happening on Monday.
Very big thing.
Evidently, there's going to be more people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area this weekend than was in town for the Super Bowl, a few years back.
And for the record, people, I tried to get Brian Thornton to give us a work from home day. Didn't happen. So,
well, we will have stellar content.
That's right. You do not want to miss the WAC staff video. Just a hint, it's to a great song. We won't even reveal the song, but I'm guessing you can guess if you know someone named Bonnie.
Turn around.
Choreographed. I mean, if you go back in our social, check out that September 21 video. It's gonna be like this, but better.
Oh,
So much better.
no pressure.
No
We're gonna have
pressure.
sunglasses. We're gonna have popcorn. We're gonna have a musical. It's gonna be so good.
Are we getting popcorn?
Russell said we're getting popcorn.
From where?
I don't know.
Oh man, I'm excited now.
Yeah, man.
I just know popcorn will be in the building. Well, actually outside. We have to be outside for this event. So
They have
Dallas-
glasses.
yeah, so Dallas is like a prime time spot.
Yeah.
Festivals will be here, which is why so many people will be out here.
Dave
because
Chaffin's gonna be here.
Dave, yes.
Everybody's
office.
come. We might be in total darkness for what was it?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
I heard 2 minutes on the radio this morning though, and I said I thought it was
It might be at
4.
the peak is 4 minutes, and we're just a little bit over a
And
little.
then it's supposed to be cloudy that day too.
Oh, what
so
if we can't see it?
It's still days
That would be
ahead.
very
The weather can
disappointing.
change. Let's be positive vibes.
That's
Positive
right.
That's right.
Speaking of positive vibes, Rick McCarty coming up next. Kendra interviews the Abilene Christian baseball coach. Lots of insight.
Absolutely. Don't want to miss this interview. He is a great interview, sheds a lot of light on this program. They lost a couple guys from last year that were with the program, Grayson Tatro, a couple guys that went to the draft. And so they're kind of in the almost not a rebuilding phase because they're second in the league, but a lot of great insight and a great program and an even better coach in person.
Next on the WAC podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
In the WAC, we value sportsmanship on the field.
And in the stands.
We take pride in playing fair and being honest.
We honor the game by showing respect for our opponents.
The officials.
The fans.
And our team.
Great sportsmanship is about taking ownership after a loss.
And being humble after a win.
We want you to team up with us by staying positive on the sidelines.
Because great sportsmanship is what unites us.
We are
The Western Athletic Conference.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. I'm Kendra Sheehan, now joined by Abilene Christian head baseball coach Rick McCarty. Coach, it's good to speak with you again. I spoke with you at the beginning of the season as the guys were getting ready and gearing up for baseball to start. And now we're a little bit into the season. Abilene Christian is currently second in the WAC standings. And you just had a big game at Texas. And, you know, what I've noticed is the way that you have scheduled this non-conference slate, very tough. You're bringing in a lot of opponents. You're traveling out. What stood out to you about the way that you put together this schedule to put this team in the best possible position to succeed in the postseason?
Yeah, there's some second guessing going on some of these nights. I can tell you that much. Yeah, to your point, we opened up with Oklahoma State and Globe Life, and then trip to Baylor. Trip to UTSA, trip to TCU, trip to Texas, and a trip to Texas Tech. So we've certainly seen the state. I think when you look at it, we're looking forward to getting home. 17 of our last 23 games have actually been on the road. So we do have a little bit more home-friendly schedule, both WAC and just non-conference midweek games. So it's certainly been a challenge, but that's what we've done during our tenure here is try to put our guys in positions to play the best early on in the year. And, we've had some success in those games, which I think built some confidence. And the times where you don't, like last night at Texas, there's still some things that you can learn and pull from. And, whether that's a young player, get an opportunity in that venue, or an older player, just have an opportunity to go back and perform well. But I think all of the coaches here in our league, the goal is to obviously play in the postseason, which is going to be at those places, they're normally going to keep you fairly local here, at least in our state of Texas. So at least there's going to be some familiarity. Hopefully when we finally punch our ticket to that regional, it's probably a place that we've been before, and hopefully it's a place we've had some success.
Yeah, you got a chance to utilize a lot of pitchers last night. A lot of guys got an opportunity to face off against, Power 5 opponents that you had already faced off, of course, earlier in the season with the way that you've scheduled that non-conference slate. But what did you like what were some moments that were great in last night's game and maybe some that, hey, this was a learning opportunity and a way to get better, and so we don't make those same mistakes later on?
Yeah, I think it's last night was a little different, uncharacteristic. We gave up a big inning there, but some of it was, we lost the ball on the lights, and then we made an uncharacteristic error. And when you do that with teams like Texas and and some of the others that we've been a part of, man, they're going to make you pay. And that's what happened in the fifth. It was a 2-1 game in the fifth, and, we gave up 8 there, just couldn't get off the field. So, but to your point, we used a lot of young guys. I think we threw 4 guys that basically are redshirt freshmen, for the most part. So, and I thought the majority of them competed well, I think, but Rolando De La Cruz gave us 3 innings there, early in the game and threw up 3 zeros, and I don't think gave up a hit to their lineup. So that was great for him. There was some other great moments. I thought we did a decent job of putting some pressure. It's just so hard to score there. I don't know, doing some numbers. I think that's the 7th time we played there. I'm not going to tell you how many runs we've scored, but it's not 7. So, yeah, it's a tough environment to play in. Those guys do a great job, but again, there's some opportunities to learn and grow.
Looking at last year, you had a guy like Grayson Tatro on the roster, and you lost him as he graduated and had to pick up a lot of new pieces in the offseason. What was the focus during the offseason? Who did you want to pick up, and how did your roster shape out after the transfer portal guys graduating and the new guys you had to bring in?
Yeah, that's a pretty complex question, because we had you're right, like Logan Britt and Grayson Tatro were probably the top 2 guys from an all-conference perspective. Tanner Tweed had been here with us and had a lot of at-bats for us throughout his career. There's some other guys offensively as well, but really on the pitching is where it's shifted. Tyler Morgan, Breck Eichelberger. We lost 2 other guys. Logan actually got drafted. Logan Britt actually got drafted, as a pitcher as well. And then, a guy that was injured last year. So we lost 4 guys to the draft on the mound, which really created an opportunity for so many different people. We do like to recruit young talent. We like to try to develop that talent and turn it into a Tyler Morgan and a Breck, where they have an opportunity to go play professional baseball and hopefully share their ACU story. I think that's the bigger part of our job here. But we had 24 new players, I think, when the season started. Honestly, we're about to play our 30th game, and there's still what are we going to get? We're still working on that identity. We know we probably need to be at this point, but playing that complete game defensively, offensively, on the mound, I think that's what we're all searching for in our league right now, just kind of watching box scores. There'll be times that we pitch it really well and defend really well, don't hit. There'll be times that we swing it well, don't pitch, or maybe we hit and pitch and don't defend. So I think just trying to play the complete game is where we've been a little bit up and down with so many new players. But there's moments where I feel like, man, we could win a championship this year. And there's been some moments like, man, are we going to be in the tournament? So it's all over the map. And I think if you spoke to all the coaches in our league as I talked to them, they probably feel the same way.
One of the new freshmen that you added, Brett Landman, the lefty, he's got your highest ERA right now, or your lowest, I guess, ERA right now. Yeah. What have you liked about the way that he's come in and been able to step up on the mound for you guys?
Yeah, Brett's been super steady. There's some talent there, obviously, but I think the thing that stuck out to me is, yeah, his demeanor's been great. I think for a younger player, he's, leans into some confrontation, leads into some adversity. When he gets punched, he's not afraid to kind of punch back and stand tall, which is what you need on the mound. And, he's been in a position each of our conference weekends to this point. We went to that Sunday game with a split, and so there's always a little bit of heat on that guy to start and maybe try to create some momentum on that Sunday, if you will. And he's done a really good job of doing that. He pounds the strike zone with multiple pitches and competes at a pretty high level. And when he's gotten hit or given up a home run or a double, like, he seems to jump right back in there. Doesn't seem to bother him. For a young player, sometimes that's a challenge. So no, he's been very, very steady, very, very consistent. I think it starts with his demeanor and work ethic.
And you also had a grad transfer in Gino this year, who's got your highest batting average right now. What was the recruiting process for him, and how did you get a hold of him to come to Abilene?
Yeah, so that was a little unique. One of our, I guess we've got 2 now, but Casey Demko, one of our assistant coaches here, actually coached him at Quincy University. So when Gino jumped in the portal, it was like, hey, what does this look like? You feel like he'd be a good fit. So the answer was yes and yes and yes. He's a really good player, rock solid worker. He's been a great fit. He's plugged right in and played. So we knew losing Tatro and Britt and Tweed and some of those other guys that we were going to need a presence, a collegiate presence of someone that's had some at bats. So he's done a really good job and been consistent from day one, really dating back to August. He's got again a really nice work ethic and pretty pretty diligent in what he does, how he operates. He's an older guy, so like I seem to get along with those guys, that dislike to work and they're here for a specific reason to hopefully have a chance to play professional baseball. So he's trying to make the most of the opportunity. He's put himself in a good spot in that regard. So hopefully he'll have a good, strong finish here down the stretch. And we've asked him to do a lot, play a lot of different positions, and he's been a pretty good staple right in the middle of the order.
With you guys kind of searching for that identity and losing so many guys last year, who's kind of emerged as the go-to leader, or the guy that you got to count on when you need a play to happen?
Yeah, so we've had, Miller Ladisall was, I guess, preseason all conference. Miller's been around the block with us and our staff. He's certainly got a voice in the room. Austin Glaze is probably another one that's been, on the mound for us, dating back to 2020. Those two guys are probably the most tenured, if you will. Those are guys that I trust to have conversations with. And, I think the leadership cycle right now, just in Division I collegiate athletics in general, it's just changed. The scope of it's changed. It's just a little bit different. We don't do captains here within our program. I know some do, but really we try to help our guys understand what it looks like to lead themselves first. I think that's first and foremost. And then if they're capable of doing that at a high level and mature level, and then that probably allows them to influence other guys on our team. What you don't want are guys that don't lead themselves well, influencing the team. And I think we've got a great group of guys, so we haven't had a lot of issues in that regard. But there's a certain standard I think the previous guys have created here, and what the expectations are of an ACU baseball player. We're proud of that academic standard. We're proud of there's a spiritual component to what our guys are doing here at ACU, which is important to us and our staff. And obviously we want to play at a really, really high level on the field. And, we've not won a WAC championship or we've been close to the WAC tournament title, but we haven't gotten there yet. So there's still a lot of stuff for Miller and Austin to try to get, during their last run here at ACU. So hopefully we'll be able to do that with a strong finish.
You mentioned it seems like consistency is an area that you guys are working on through this season, but where is something that's been strong for you guys? What's the strength of this team that, most nights you can count on?
Yeah, I think we just, we've had some good starting pitching on the weekend. I like our pieces in the bullpen. I think we've got some mound depth, probably more strike throwers with stuff than we've had in the past. So I think when to this point, just statistically speaking, I think we're in a pretty good place, and in terms of all the pitching categories when the right guys are on the mound competing well. So I would say that's been a strength. But there's been some nights where our offense has done is carried, and there's some depth. I do think I like the athleticism of our lineup when we've got a couple of different models that we can go to, but. We've got some guys that are balanced left-handed, right-handed, that can run, that can do some short game type things. So we're not slugging as much as we've had in the past, but that's probably by design in terms of the way we recruited with this group from an on-base perspective, and bat to ball and some of those things. So we're still working on the whole identity, but I think there's certainly some good pieces to build around here down the stretch.
Looking ahead, you got Stephen F. Austin this weekend. What's the scouting report and what's the focus during practice leading up to taking on the Lumberjacks?
Yeah, so we'll be on the road again. We got back last night from Texas about 2:30. So we've just kind of recalibrating this morning. We had the all staff meeting in the athletic department this morning, so some of the morning was tied up with that. But I'll dive into specifically Stephen F. later on this evening and jump in tomorrow. I know John will have his guys ready to play. That's an in-state rival. We dated back to the Southland Conference days with them. So I know his group will be ready to play. It's another road weekend, which is always, just it's just difficult in our league. You know, it's hard to go to a place and put together 3 straight days. So hopefully our guys will be able to do that. You know, it's a bus trip for us this time instead of a flight, which hopefully that's a better thing. You know, instead of flying out to Sacramento or Utah, you know, that's it's a little bit easier travel, hopefully. But no, we're excited to hopefully have a, you know, a strong showing this weekend there and that.
Yeah, a crazy amount of road trips that you guys are taking, so much time on the road. And I know that's so tough for a team, but has it done wonders for the chemistry and bonding and getting to spend so much time away from home with these guys on the road, the bus trips, the planes, everything?
Yeah, it's done right. It's an enjoyable time. It's just what you try to tell them. I know that from, you know, just from my seat. I'm not, I guess I'm getting older, but I still do remember the days on the bus and traveling and the nonsense and the silly things that you discuss. I guess the challenge now is that having to put their phones down for a while, enough to where they can have some social skills back and forth. But no, our guys have some bus games. I've got a 13-year-old son that travels with us quite a bit. He's been called to the back of the bus a couple times to play Mafia or whatever the game that they're playing. So that's been neat. But yeah, I think our guys are, we've got a pretty tight group that seems to enjoy being around each other, even though they've been around each other quite a bit. We had I'll share this story. We got back from Sacramento State. You know, you got the West Coast flight back to Dallas, and then, you know, we had some issues with our bus. We've got a rock star bus driver, but it's a 3-hour trip, you know, one way. On the way over, he just felt that something wasn't right with the bus. So he went ahead and radioed back and told them to bring another bus just in case. Well, man, we're 15 minutes closer to home, and our bus kind of just breaks down, basically. So we got to sit on an unair conditioner bus from about 12 to 2 a.m. on a Sunday night, waiting for the bus to get here. And then about the time the bus gets here, so does a severe thunderstorm. So like it is pouring, lightning. We have the quickest bus turnover of all time. Everybody grabbed 2 bags, threw it on the other bus. So we drove home soaking wet and got in about 4:30. But I think everyone made it to class at 8 a.m. So it's a good thing. But that's the student athlete piece that people don't get. You know, I mean, like our guys have been gone a lot. We ask a lot of them in the classroom here. So, but it's a great tool, life skill that they'll lean back into one day. So I'm sure the 4:30 get home after some bus and rain, that'll be a trip that's discussed in the future here for sure.
That's right. It's always a memory that they have, and they made it to class the next day. So, hey.
We hope. That's right. I hope.
And also this past weekend, of course, was Easter Sunday, and I saw some pictures on your social media accounts. It looked like you had a Easter egg hunt out on the baseball field. Was that for the community? What was that like, kind of getting to celebrate and have the community maybe come out and have an Easter egg hunt with you guys?
Yeah, man, Abilene is a very social city, man. We love the community here. We try to jump out and serve as much as we can. So that was just an opportunity. We had first responder night on Thursday. So we had a bunch of the local firemen and some police officers come out, which we've got a pretty tight connection with. On Friday night, we've got Dias Air Force Base here in town, a little south of town. So yeah, so we played 2 night games, with it being Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we probably had 40, you know, Dias Air Force families, you know, in our dugout for BP, and a lot of kids running around. So that was pretty neat. You know, we gave them a jersey, and so they've got an ACU jersey that I'm sure they're rocking. Some of them are way too big for the little kids, you know, that were real tiny, but it was a neat experience. And then Saturday we had an Easter egg hunt after the game for a lot of the kids, just kind of run around and grab some candy. And yeah, anytime we can give back to the community, it's great. We're trying to build, you know, a brand here that's the hometown brand. We want those folks to be welcomed. And it was neat because we had a walk-off win on Saturday, and it was actually a player, a freshman from Wiley High School, which is one of the Abilene high schools here. So for Reese to get the walk-off hit, you know, in front of a lot of Abilene people, I'm sure he knew his family, was probably pretty neat for him and his experience here. So hopefully we'll have a few more of those stories, but you know, we're looking forward. We've got Texas Tech coming here, I think, next week, and TCU the following week. And so I know those are big. There's a lot of red and black here in Abilene. There's a lot of Red Raider fans. So We had about 4,000 people here in 22 when we played them here. So hopefully we'll have the same crowd, and it'll be a good night to play some baseball next week, and hopefully we'll find a way to win it.
Hey, you mentioned the walk-off, because I'm not sure if this is new this year, but I'm seeing on your social media a lot of those like old style photos that you guys seem to take after for, the walk-off trio or anyone who, has a good game. Is that something new? And is that going into a scrapbook maybe that's going to be, kept for the next year?
Hey, yeah, I'm going to give a shout. So we've got a young lady named Kaylee Kahn she's been with us for the last 2 years. She's phenomenal. She's high level. She's got a great career ahead of her, but she's really been with us and really, started last year, her, and she had another young lady that helped, Faith, that they traveled with us. They were in the WAC, out the WAC in Mesa, and it's pretty neat to pull back because it's all those pictures, if no one's taking them, you really don't. It's just a story, it allows us to imprint that moment for, the walk-off. I shared that with our guys yesterday, but then when you add the video to it with the imprinting, I think just from an understanding of how important those moments are, pretty neat. So Kaylee does a phenomenal job, and she is absolutely part of our staff and welcome here as long as she'll be here, but she's graduated from ACU. So that's a pretty neat story when you have some people that are on campus. They didn't play sports here, but they've covered it well from the Optimists, and she's done a great job. So she started to do that. It's hanging in our indoor facility. So the first thing you walk in, you kind of see those moments. I don't know the rhyme or reason. That is all on her. I'm not that creative. So she runs with that one for sure. But she's got free reign as long as I'm here to do it. She pleases, because it's usually pretty good.
That's awesome. I love to check it out the next time I'm in Abilene. That's really cool. It's really way to preserve all the memories,
That's right. It's neat. She does a great job.
Well, Coach McCarty, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. You can catch Abilene Christian at SFA starting Friday, a 6:30 p.m. first pitch on ESPN+. Thank you so much for listening to the WAC Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the WAC Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.